This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in places that could expose you to identity theft. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every second. If your identity is stolen, their US-based restoration specialist will fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Welcome to the Friday News Roundup. Today on CityCast Las Vegas, I'm with Nevada Current reporter Michael MJ Lyle and my co-host Dayvid Figler. And we're going to cover a messy fiber optics project, a rash of road rage, and Barry Manilow's lifetime residency. It's Friday, December 6th. I'm Sarah Lohman, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about. Dayvid and Michael, welcome to our Friday News Roundup.
Good morning.
Hey there.
Hi. Okay, so I do have a hot headline for you today.
Oh my gosh. We need a theme song for a hot headline.
Coming in hot.
This kind of went under the radar, but another truck caught fire and shut down I-15 last Saturday near State Line, stopping traffic for hours. No. I know, but you will actually be surprised by what the truck was filled with that caught on fire. Do you want to guess?
What was the cargo?
What was the cargo in the tractor trailer?
Was it another lithium battery fire? Because that seems to be the rage right now.
It was not, for once, a lithium battery or Tesla truck fire. MJ, you want to guess what the cargo was?
Oh, I don't know. I'm a child, so I was like, condoms, which is not what a truck would be filled with. I don't know why that popped in my head, but...
I don't know how flammable condoms are.
Oh, wait, was it chickens?
It was not chickens. That has happened. I think I've mentioned in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, in one year, a truck of live chickens and then a truck of raw chickens flipped. Yeah, it was chaos.
So fried chicken?
Yeah, eventually. Not chickens.
What about bees?
It was not bees, thank gosh.
Bees.
Bees, yeah.
Are you ready to find out?
Yes.
It was cheese.
What?
Yeah.
It was cheese? I was so close. Bees, cheese, so close.
So close.
I feel like chicken and cheese is a thing. I don't know.
What kind of cheese?
Yeah, what kind of cheese?
I tried to do my due diligence. I could not find out what type of cheese. I don't think the cheese combusted, but I'm sure it fed the flames. Luckily nobody was hurt. And thanks to a quick-thinking driver, he was able to detach the cab and drive it away. So it was just the trailer of cheese.
Chips. With
yes.
nacho chips.
Well, Gouda on him.
Oh, my God. There it is. That's what we want this morning. There's our puns. Did you like that one, Dayvid? Good on him?
I did. Don't you see an ear-to-ear smile right now in my voice?
Yeah, you love a pun.
That was a good one.
All right. Well, I will give you $1 for every cheese pun you can work into the news roundup today.
That is not something you want to fondue.
Yeah.
Hey! MJ! Oh, my God. Okay. Well, this may or may not be as messy as a cheese truck explosion. But Dayvid, I know that there's something going on in Vegas and in your neighborhood where AT&T's subsidiary company Gigapower is bringing high-speed internet and fiber optics to Las Vegas, but it's causing some issues for residents. Can you give me a little bit of context for that?
Sure. In a city that is now pretty used to seeing orange cones everywhere, I feel like we need to update the color coding system because they're always everywhere and you don't know which belong to what kind of project. Like, what project should you be mad at any given time, right? And so this is a big cone project, a big no parking space project. And so people who live in the city of Las Vegas are probably seeing this in their neighborhoods or on streets that they use on all different parts of town. This is a massive undertaking from this big provider, AT&T, obviously, Gigapower. They hired a company that operates out of Las Vegas named Tilson, and Tilson has convinced the city that it's a good idea to do this relatively new technique of laying in fiber optic called microtrenching. I believe they pitch it to the city saying, look, microtrenching, we don't go down as deep. Installation's a lot faster. It's more affordable, and we can get all this great high-speed internet and connectivity to all these neighborhoods. What could possibly go wrong? So here's what could possibly go wrong. There's not really any specific regulations about microtrenching. And so what we're seeing, especially in the older neighborhoods of Las Vegas, and Las Vegas has some neighborhoods that go way back, 30s and 40s, with very vulnerable and fragile infrastructures, is that people in the wake of this project are reporting, oh, we're having plumbing issues. Oh, there's sewage issues. Oh, why is that water main broken again? Why is our Cox cable that's under there as well now out because it got cut by this company installing this fiber optic? And so the big concern, the controversy, if you will, is, I guess, A, is this company good at doing this? And B, should the city be a little bit more proactive in making sure that the issues that are following this microtrenching installation protect the health, safety, and what we like to call the quiet enjoyment of one's day-to-day life. And so there's a lot of pushback going around. There's also a lot of individual cases are coming up where this company is towing cars from in front of people's own homes without notice. That, it's not a process without serious consequence, but it's also not a process that's highly looked at or maybe even understood in our community. And that's where the controversy lies.
It sounds expensive for both individuals and the city as well. Dayvid, you have seen this going down in your neighborhood. Actually, when we were on the pub crawl the other day, we passed some of these trucks and you were telling me about some of the things that have happened. Are there some things that you can share that you've witnessed firsthand in this installation process?
Yeah, well, it's, firsthand reports from my neighbors. They haven't made it to my historic part of the downtown area yet, but we see them encroaching. They've already put up the no parking signs, which, by the way, don't seem to be in compliance with code. But that said, I do have a personal stake in this story. So as, full disclosure here, that we are in conversations with our city officials to try to if this process is going to happen, if they're going to allow this permitting to continue, to make sure it's done in a thoughtful and reasonable way that protects our older, more vulnerable neighborhoods, just because our infrastructure underground is as you can imagine, a mishmash mess. And so when you're adding new elements into it, the biggest thing that we found, because, we as neighbors did a public record request. A lot of people don't know that as a neighbor, if you're interested in some project, because this is a private company. This is a private company laying fiber optic to sell to other companies to then sell to individuals. So this is capitalism in effect. And so we did a public record request, and we found some really disturbing trends, including that the city knows that this company is wreaking havoc and that they have been fined tens of thousands of dollars for different kind of violations, mostly traffic-related violations and barricade violations, but also that all this damage is being noted. And I've had friends, personal friends, close friends, that have had their cars towed without notice. And this is problematic. Now, in the defense of the company, to the extent that I can, we listened to a broadcast on KNPR, state of Nevada, that talked about this very issue. Tilson and Gigapower did not talk with them. They declined an invitation, but they did send out a disclaimer saying that, we are working with the downtown neighbors. We are paying for the damages that we create. And to some extent, that is correct. There are conversations happening. And we know that some of our neighbors have submitted bills for plumbing repairs and things like that, and they have been taken care of, or they're in the process of being taken care of. So that's good. But at what point do all these fines and costs just become the cost of doing business? And how can we be assured that once that fiber optic is in, that the result of that process is not going to be long-lasting? And we just don't, because there just aren't enough studies. No study was done on this.
Through public records requests, you've talked about what the city is doing behind the scenes. How have they approached this, I guess, publicly?
Well, they have reached out to the neighbors telling us that they're working on it, that they're looking for good solves. I think that there is a pressure or maybe even a legal requirement that they allow this to continue. There is a franchise agreement that went before City Council. City Council allowed this operation to go into effect. And look, it's a 3 to 5 year operation, and it is affecting lots of neighborhoods all around the city. And I have no doubt whatsoever, in fact, I've heard it through inside channels, that they're looking at expanding to the county and expanding to the other municipalities. So, we're, again, and the city of Las Vegas becoming sort of this test case for this new microtrenching. And I will say that the other cable companies don't seem to be embracing this particular process, and I think there's a lot of reasons why. I think that it's a vulnerable because it's so shallow that when the city actually has to do work underground in various areas and streets, it's vulnerable to being cut. So, people may get this great, fast, high optic fiber only for the city to accidentally sever it. So there's a lot of things. So the city is trying to placate everybody. I think there's a lot of internal meetings happening right now. And if it has to go public, I think the neighbors are going to force that issue.
MJ, I want to ask you the same question that Christopher Alvarez actually asked in his KNPR article. Is this worth it? We could argue that affordable, high-speed internet, it's a necessity, maybe a human right in this modern age. But at the moment, it seems to be sort of costing individuals money as opposed to helping them. Is this all going to work out in the wash?
I think the question actually that comes to me is, one, to affirm what you said. Yes, high-speed internet is something that just everyone needs nowadays. We saw that really underscored during the pandemic of the fact that access in what communities that was hurting. But the question I think remains is who has the power to actually install this and how we outsource this to certain companies to do this and kind of the liberties that they take. I haven't done research, but it hasn't been a question in mine about how other cities and other counties across the country engage this process whenever they're trying to bring about broadband internet. If they're contracting outside, if they're doing this whole capitalistic approach to contract companies that will actually sell this out, or if they're kind of handling it other ways. But I think that it becomes a question of, is this the most efficient way of going about addressing a public need? And it seems like right now, this isn't the most efficient way that we could have done this process.
Well, this seems like another story that we're going to be following up on here. And, considering that CityCast records remotely, this could be an improvement for us, but it seems like a long and maybe frustrating process to get there. Hey, try Soul Belly. Soul Belly is a bustling restaurant and venue located on Main Street in Las Vegas's Arts District. They serve creative, regional barbecue under the direction of Chef Bruce Kalman. With a strong emphasis on Central Texas barbecue, Soul Belly also offers deliciously simple cocktails, hyper-local beer, and live entertainment. Their mission is simple. Use the most responsibly raised, high-quality ingredients to create the best possible barbecue and just have fun. Soul Belly is great for groups of all sizes. They can host your holiday outing or even organize a party with a live band. It's a fun, comfortable environment that is accommodating for everyone. They can also cater lunch for your office if you're looking for a treat. Visit soulbellybbq.com or just drop by and see what's coming off the smoker today. That's soulbellybbq.com. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. How do you stay cozy during the winter months? I like to find some time for myself to sit in front of my fireplace, snuggled in a blanket with a good book to read. But the holiday season can be tough, and therapy can be helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/citycast today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/citycast. MJ, we're going to come to you now because there is a developing story about this recent road rage incident where an Uber driver was fatally shot. Can you tell me what happened?
Yeah, so the Monday before Thanksgiving, there was a 24-year-old woman who we still don't have the name of her released right now because the DA is reviewing whether it was incident of self-defense, but there was reports of a woman that was driving in and out of construction lanes, and at some point an Uber driver and her got into a road rage altercation, and when their cars came to the stop, the 50-year-old Uber driver got out of his car, knocked on her window, and as the passengers reported, this woman rolled down the window and shot him in the chest, and he died. This is part of it's an ongoing story right now, developing story. As I mentioned, we don't know anything more about the 24-year-old other than the fact that she hasn't been named, but she has supposedly had other incidents of road rage throughout the years, even this year recently. But yeah, this is kind of a trend that we've been seeing of road rage and aggressive driving throughout the valley. There was another incident up in the southwest intersection of two people were hit. They were fighting in the intersection and they were hit by a car too. And so we've been seeing a lot of incidences recently that have gotten a lot of public attention in the news of rash road rage. And one unfortunately had a really tragic fatality last week. So
I also saw some reporting that the Uber driver had a weapon, may have brandished the weapon,
yes,
a firearm, and
Yes.
it happened on the Strip, which is always going to magnify and amplify the nature of the story. It's going to spread like wildfire, not just locally, but probably internationally, because the Strip, being our sacred space, if you will, whenever anything bad happens on it, it seems to be a much bigger story.
Our sacred and wildest space. But yeah, it seems like it's more of a national story when it happens there. Yes, both drivers were armed. It is legal to have a firearm in your car. It's not supposed to be loaded, but it's also legal to carry firearms in this state. Now, we don't normally see a lot of people with holsters and carrying firearms in Clark County, but I can't help but to think out loud that if we had stricter gun laws, there would not have been a fatality in this case. Neither party would have had a gun and 0 people would have gotten shot. And I know that there are people listening, they're going to say, oh, well, people are going to have guns anyway. Maybe not in this case. And that one more person would be alive. So, MJ, you mentioned this other incident where there were 2 people fighting in an intersection who then got hit by a car. Take your fights to the sidewalks, everybody. Let's stay safe.
Well, also stay in your cars. Stay in your cars. Don't get out of your car to pound on another car. You don't know what you're getting into.
Curse somebody out. Curse somebody
out. And that's
out.
so scary, too.
Flick them off and move on with your life.
I feel like, yeah, there is now legislation that's going to be considered in 2025 that actually is going to make road rage a crime, even though we do have already statutes for aggressive driving, but already kind of legislation filed about making road rage a crime. It seems like this goes on this trend of what we're looking at. We've seen a increase in traffic fatalities over the last few years. I think there was a report of 36% increase between 2019 and 2022 in the state of Nevada.
Of what? Of road rage or fatalities?
Of traffic fatalities in general.
Okay.
And so I think road rage is one component of that. There is a recent study that showed that Nevada ranked 12th in aggressive driving.
Road rage. Yeah, 12th in the nation for road rage. But yeah, that there was also like a 36% increase in aggressive driving as well. That statistic was also included in that. Let me ask you, MJ, do you know how that law would potentially criminalize road rage?
Well, the bill still has to go through a process, so we do not know exactly how it will end up being. But I will say, like, the notion of traffic fatalities and traffic injuries have been talked about in interim committees over the last year. And when looking into the story, I was reminded of a quote that I put in one of my stories. The Division of Public and Behavioral Health within the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services was talking about DUI-related incidences, which are alarmingly high still. And despite the fact that there's strict enforcement methods and public awareness. And she noted that even though traditional approaches such as fine and fees and license suspensions have proven effective, they're still inefficient to addressing the root causes of the issue. I want to bring that into mind as we look about more stricter and punitive measures towards road rage or traffic fatalities. There's also a large discussion looming ahead of the session about bringing red light cameras too as a way to solve some of these traffic incidences. Like, we keep trying to solve this with criminal justice solutions. Not, if I could drill into everyone's head that not every public policy issue needs to be solved with a criminal justice or punitive solution, I would do that because it feels like that is our gut reaction to it.
Sometimes a little bitter medicine works a lot better than a nasty stick.
Exactly,
to solve a societal ill.
And I really hope that is a question that when we look at this in pending legislation on road rage and making that a crime within Nevada and enacting stricter penalties of that we're asking the questions, what are the infrastructure mechanisms? What are the other solutions that we're looking at on the front end? That was actually a question that came out in the intercommittee about, like, we keep talking about these back-end solutions of, like, after the fact, after someone engages in road rage, after there's a fatality, after someone gets shot, we're going to punish them. That doesn't prevent it. So what are we doing on the front end that's actually preventing it? What are we doing looking at the infrastructure of our roadways?
Yes.
Are we looking at other measures that actually reduce the number of traffic, like light rail? I will always be a proponent of, like, looking at other measures that actually reduce the number of car and investing in mass transit and public transportation. So
less cars, less rage.
Yeah. Those solutions are complicated and frankly costly. Although in a city as rich as we are, should not be really an issue, but that's going to be an issue still. But I think while we're discussing these topics and going to be debating legislation on, again, road rage, red light cameras, we do need to have really nuanced and deep conversations about what investments we're going to make in the infrastructure to make our roadways actually safer.
Dayvid, do you think that driving in Vegas is particularly dangerous? My car insurance seems to think so. Are our drivers particularly angry? And is there a role that tourists play in all this too?
I think that there is just this general frustration, especially in the hot weather days. And not everyone has cars that have air conditioning. And so I think that there's probably spikes then. We got to look at our environment. I saw earlier this year, stopped at an intersection over on Valley View and Sahara. I looked over to my left, as one sometimes does, and I saw the driver and the passenger passing back and forth a meth pipe. So, there's a lot of weird energy in our city when it comes to our streets. But, you know, I of course agree with everything that MJ just said. Are they going to, tell you can't shout F words out your window anymore because that's now, felony road rage? People are frustrated, and we live in a grid of frustrating traffic with perpetual construction, diversion, reforming what streets look like with cones that are seemingly abandoned, that are also very frustrating. I've seen cars flipped over in trenches that have been built on Charleston, like literally flipped over because they were probably trying to get around a cone that they didn't think should be there. There was no construction anywhere, just trenches on a major thoroughfare. So I could see how all these elements need to be addressed and not just, hey, can we stop people from yelling shithead out a window? Although I'm not in favor of road rage. Let me make that clear.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some of the craziest stuff that I've ever seen here, even before I moved here. For me, I was stopped at an intersection near Fremont Street, and there was a car across the street facing me in my lane, and it was not a one-way street, and it was also just abandoned, and the driver was just walking down the highway. So I'm kind of curious, MJ, and this is not where you're going, continue to go where you're going, but is controlled substances an issue in all of this as well? My insurance seems to think so.
My anecdote accepted.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to go with the controlled substance issue, and so I am going to go in a different direction, but it does answer your question of, like, what is also involved with this. There was actually an article in Salon.com earlier this year that looked at the rise of road rage across the U.S., and one psychologist they talked to with the University of Wisconsin was talking about actually factors connected to the pandemic influencing the rise in road rage, of how we went through a time where we were working remotely, and then something in the pandemic really shifted this. We saw the mental health aspects, with the toll it's playing in other aspects of society, whether it's a rise in suicides, whether it's mental health between youth. Like, we've seen the pandemic really take a toll. And so his argument is that it's also taking a toll on what we're seeing on roadways, and just also a decrease in empathy too. Like, we are a very ultra online society where it's super easy to argue with someone on social media without any ramifications. And that has a carryover to when we get into our cars, where we're like that same rage mentality where you can like argue with a faceless name kind of strips you of your empathy a little bit. And so when you're in your car, like, it carries over a little bit. Wow. And so I don't know about controlled substance and what that plays in, but there is research looking at pandemic and just general lack of empathy that comes from like just being continually online through social media. So
MJ, thank you so much. You are always such a thoughtful guest, and I really appreciate that perspective.
No, thank you.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Blinds.com Cyber Monday Last Chance is happening now. Don't miss out on up to 45% off site-wide. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 45% site-wide, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
So we're going to wrap up today. I don't know if you all heard this, but Barry Manilow has just been offered a lifetime residency at the Westgate. It's open-ended. He can play there as long as he wants. Basically, so we already know that last September, Barry Manilow surpassed the number of shows that even Elvis did in Vegas to become the most performed singer in all of Las Vegas history. He is 81 years old this year, and he says he's going to finish his career at the Westgate.
God bless him.
Wow.
God bless him.
Looks like he made it.
Yeah. Maybe he's going to make it someday. The founder of the Westgate says, yes, he can play at the International Theater for as long as he wants to. It is an open-ended contract. So Manilow has 48 shows booked through December 2025, but perhaps there'll be many more after that. Have any of you seen Manilow perform?
Are you asking us if we're Fanilows?
I think that there's degrees of separation between a Fanilow and having seen Barry Manilow perform. You did once, Dayvid. MG, have you ever seen Barry Manilow perform?
Who's Barry Manilow? I'm too young.
MJ.
I'm kidding. I know Manilow, but I've never. Yeah.
I know who can tell us who Barry Manilow is. Dayvid, what are some Barry Manilow songs?
Oh, what are Barry Manilow songs? Oh, there's.
Yeah.
I grew up on the music of Barry Manilow. I have to say before I learned what music, good music was, but not that it's bad music. He has a lot of great hits. He's got Mandy. Mm-hmm. He's got Can't Smile Without You. He's got I Made It Through the Rain. He's got the Copacabana. Ironically, he has a big hit song called I Write the Songs That Make the Whole World Sing, which he did not write. Yeah, so, Manilow's got the hits. Manilow brings the hits. And he also wrote a bunch of jingles. That's where he first made his money. He did, yeah.
Just like Tori Amos. She did a cornflakes commercial.
Sure. Oh, he also did the American Bandstand song. Dayvid, what's American Bandstand? Well, there's this fellow named Dick Clark. I'm done.
I enjoy the concept of Dayvid just doing the entire podcast himself. Worry those questions.
Oh my God.
Thank you for your knowledge, Gen Xer.
Thank you.
Here, that's what I'm here for. This and trivia nights. Podcasts and trivia nights.
So, Dayvid, we have sort of discussed that Vegas can sometimes be a place for singers in their curtain call era. We still have, a lot of boomers who are come here. They're a wealthy generation. And so, our city does still cater to them. I would say that like Wayne Newton is probably one of the most famous people who came here to end their career, but plenty of others.
Well, I mean, he's just been here forever.
Been here forever. MJ, do you think we're too focused on catering to boomers at this point? Or, is it kind of nice that we're like the retirement community for aging pop stars?
I think it's actually kind of nice. And to be fair, like, I feel, even though I do not listen to Barry Manilow and have not been, I think there are some aging pop stars that still resonate with younger populations. And so I do think it is nice. And there is an appeal to have some of these performers like coming on here and calling out Dolly Parton. I'd love to have you in Las Vegas.
Come back. Okay. She's performed here in the past.
But like for like a lifetime residency, come on.
Oh my gosh, that'd be wonderful. She gives a beautiful show, tells amazing stories. It was like 3 hours long. I saw it at Forest Hill Stadium out in Long Island. But actually, that brings me to our final question. So I was curious, like, what octa, or we can go to septuagenarians, would you like to see do a residency here? MJ, is Dolly your pick?
Dolly, I mean, I know she's already been here before, but Cher.
Oh my God, yes. That's mine. Yeah. I would love to see Cher come back.
I just want her to, like, just living in Vegas and, like, we just see her randomly, like, all around. And that's the dream.
Rooming at Lake Las Vegas with Celine.
She would show up at Piranha nightclub and sing with all the gays, like...
With her hot young boyfriend. Do you know what?
With her hot young boyfriend.
She was asked, like, why she doesn't date men her own age. And she responded, men my own age are all dead. So, good on you, Cher. David, who would you like to see do a lifetime residency here?
For octogenarians, putting them up on stage, I would love to see a spoken word, or maybe even better yet, a slam poetry with maybe the world's most famous octogenarian right now, who doesn't have a job, Mr. Joe Biden. I would love to see an evening with Joe Biden. Just get up on stage, maybe, with a comfy couch and a microphone and a gentle set. And he could just talk about his life, and he could do it in verse.
Seriously. Hey, I'm being serious here.
Yeah, I am being serious too. I would love would you not go to see an evening with Joe Biden on the Las Vegas Strip?
Joe Biden.
Yeah, if we got free tickets, free media passes, I would absolutely be there.
I will tell you this. There was a couple of shows with Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner before Carl Reiner passed away that were going on the Strip. And then, not that they're this old yet, but the same thing with Martin Short and Steve Martin doing their kind of show together. And to another extent, Tina Fey and Amy Poehler doing their show together. I think these pairings of like classic old couples, when they get to their 80s, would be a delight. So, that kind of thing I want.
I've been thinking as well about what acts I would like to see still be here when they're in their 80s. And we brought up Piff and Piffles, the other week on our show. I would love to see Piff the Magic Dragon still performing at 81 on Mr. Piffles number 17, just as surly as ever. I would love a Vegas where that is the future.
You're going to have to wait a little while.
Sure. I don't know how, another 40-ish years, I'm sure. I think Piff is about my age, and Piffles is now only 2 or whatever. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you so much. Always nice to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. It's always nice to be here.
Love the Friday News Roundup. Thanks, all.
That's all for today here in CityCast Las Vegas. Our interim executive producer is Layla Muhammad. Our producers this week were Myron Kaplan and Lizzie Goldsmith. Our newsletter editor is Rob Katchel-Reese, and our hosts are Dayvid Figler and myself, Sarah Lohman. Music is by OG Moose, Epidemic Sound, and all the kimonos. We record this show on the traditional homelands of the Nawuvi, the Southern Paiute people. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? You can rate our show and leave us a review wherever you get your pods, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Las Vegas, on our website. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Take care. At the CityCast Las Vegas.